Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so in 2050, our world will be completely different than the world we know today. We will have safer, more efficient, and less expensive forms of labor and tools. We will become less dependent on humans to teach and work, and more dependent on technology to keep our world running.
Alright, so today the environment plays a huge role in society, and in 2050 the environment will play an even larger part due to the increase in our population. Climate change, such as global warming and human pollution, will continue to impact natural resources, food availability, and the environment. Regarding natural resources, even though the increased rate of our population growth is slowing, our large population will continue to put more and more stress on limited resources by 2050. So, for instance, the rapid economic growth in Asia has led to a sharp intake of natural resources already, and as they continue to develop, they will just continue to increase that resource use. And additionally, freshwater availability is already decreasing in heavily populated areas such as Central, South, and East Asia. Regarding food availability, again, the increasing population will pose a problem, and food security will become a major problem, especially in developing countries. And as water supplies decline, more crops will die out and food production will decrease. Global warming will also decrease crop and livestock yields and increase transportation and storage costs to keep the food from spoiling. And even though the food growing capability is estimated to increase in countries like China and Russia, by 2050 is estimated to decrease in countries like the US and the UK because of predicted droughts, floods, and so on. And regarding the environment, industrial pollution and human waste is already a problem, but in 2050, if it's not contained, it's going to pose an even greater threat. And then the pollution of clean water sources not only affects human populations, but also greatly impacts the local environment and the marine species or land animals that drink from that water. So we really need to start focusing on cleaner, more efficient ways to contain and dispose of our waste and pollution, and also come up with better alternatives for producing food because of the predicted global changes and the increase in our population by 2050. And I think if we start tackling these issues today, the world in 2050 could be a much healthier and cleaner place. But if we let these problems fester and continue to worsen, they will be a greater problem in 2050 and will be much more difficult to solve. And then this picture right here is just an example of human pollution. This is air pollution in a city in China, and in that level of a layer of smog around the buildings is just air pollution. And then the guy wearing a mask is an everyday man who has to wear it because it's hazardous to his health because of it.
Okay, so transportation in the year 2050 is seen as completely different from what we have now. There's predictions for frictionless vehicles, which means like they're figuring out new ways to create vehicles with no moving parts in the motors so that it's safer and that it's able to be built quicker, and so we have more production of these vehicles. Hands-free driving is another huge thing because it's more efficient. You can work while you're in your car or do whatever you need to do while you're in your car. And planes and space travel, they're looking into more sustainable ways to help with the environment and to make the environment like a healthier, cleaner place. There's new fuel options being brought to the table also, ways that can also help the environment. The planes that they have drawn up pictures for, I guess, they have the ability to have you in your own separate quarter where you can have like a bed or a desk or something to make your plane traveling more efficient for you so that you're not just sitting in a chair with multiple different people and bothering you while you're trying to get your work done. And they're planning on using the planes that we have now to create the cars for the future.
Okay, So as our society becomes more advanced and continues to change rapidly, it's really important that we still meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this becomes really important when we start talking about agriculture, because as our population continues to increase, it's going to provide farmers with a lot more opportunities to produce food. However, they're going to have to find new ways to adapt to the environment and not continue to harm our environment. And so there's three main steps of how we can do this in 2050. The first one is to freeze agriculture's footprint. This means in the past, a lot of the way that we got our farmland is by deforestation. And so we definitely need to avoid this going into the future because it's destroying our land. And most of that land that we get from cutting down trees is used as pasture land. It's not even used to produce our crops. The second one is to grow on the farms that we already have. This will help us increase our yields on less productive farmlands, but we will still be producing enough crops to help feed our entire population. And then the third way we can do this in 2050 is to use our resources more efficiently. They expect by 2050, commercial farmers are going to be using fertilizers and pesticides that with computerized tractors that have GPS. And this is going to help increase our yields and the efficiency of our crops. But really the main thing with agriculture is we just need to be aware of not destroying our planet more so that we can be able to produce enough food for our entire population. And then slowly but surely, robots are becoming more and more human-like and are replacing humans in the workplace. They started out as just making cars or putting things together on conveyor belts in factories, but by 2050, robots are expected to actually be able to have intelligent conversations with humans. They're also expected to be able to display and respond to human emotions. Robots are also expected to be able to care for the elderly in 2050, and so nursing assistants in nursing homes won't really be needed any longer. And then the big thing is they are completely expected to take over space expeditions to space. And so with every advancement, less and less humans are getting sent to space. So going into 2050, we really need to be aware of the new advancements in robots and how they're going to shape and change the humans' importance in the workplace.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is education, and I really want to focus on online schooling. And I know we have a little glimpse of what online schooling is like right now, just because we all participate in Blackboard and things like that. But there's one thing, it's called interactive technology, and we actually have it here at Boise State. Dr. Chris Haskell created it, and I think it's going to be a huge part of technology and education in 2050. And it's where teachers aren't going to be really needed to teach, they're just going to be there more to design different assignments for you to do. So there will be several different assignments to accomplish one goal of teaching you something. But each assignment will teach students in a different way because we all know that we learn differently, and so one style of teaching doesn't necessarily fit for every single student. So teachers will really just be there to design different ways for students to learn, and they can choose the pathway in which they learn. So that also helps us with student pacing and content-based learning. So with this type of technology, the interactive technology that's been created, students get to choose how fast that they get to learn and how slow that they need to learn if they need to take more time on something. It's also content-based. So here, for 4 years, you get a degree. With content-based learning, it means how much you're learning, not necessarily how long it takes you to learn it. So once you learn the content you need, then you get your achievement, you get your degree. So another thing that I like to talk about is international. With the interactive technology and online schooling, you don't have to be in the same city, state, country, or even hemisphere as your teachers and peers. So somebody in China could be in this class because of the technology that would be available. So education will just be completely different because you won't have to be in the same four walls as everybody else that you're learning with, and you'll get to decide how long it takes you to learn something. So that just makes it a lot more efficient for everybody because you get to choose how you want to learn.
So there's a lot of things that are going to happen that's really cool in the future with medicine. So there's going to be advanced technology as far as like growing different parts of the body and then matching tumors to different drugs. So like on your daily checkups, you'll go in and they can match medications to what's wrong with you, just like right there in the office. And then I was researching and it said that hospitals may not be a thing anymore. Their physical therapy offices and just like urgent care services will be able to do general surgeries and do whatever you need without going to the hospital, and that will save a lot of money because hospitals are super, super expensive. And then everything's going to basically be online, so if you're at home and you realize something's wrong with you, you can put it in your chart and send it off to your doctor, and everything will just be online and be easy to access. The problem is that we have like diabetes and childhood obesity and all that. Like it's a big epidemic in America right now, and I think that's going to be the biggest problem. We're going to have to figure out a way to get rid of that and help people that do have it in both America and China. And then designer babies are going to be a big thing as well. You're going to be able to just choose what you want your baby to be like, and that will be a big problem as well because you're not just getting like your baby naturally. Like people are, it's controversial, but it's just, that's the way it's going to be, and that's where America is heading.
So overall, the major changes within our world in 2050 will really be based on math, science, and just technology. And ultimately, it's just going to make humans less needed in the world and in the workplace. And ultimately, it's just to protect us from ourselves because we make errors. And so we're designing robots and technology to not have errors. So it's just to protect us from our own errors and our own mistakes. So the goal, I guess, of 2050